Miles, what are we doing today on Novas and Friends?
Alright, today we're going to be putting together the entire front end of the 79 Nova. What do you think we should do first?
Well, first on these cars, we should make sure we have it jacked up, well supported on the weight areas. We have jack stands placed underneath the rear axle, and we have the rocker as level as possible. Supporting the rocker underneath are these blocks of wood on top of these jack stands. The blocks of wood are angled so they go towards the pinch weld, so chance of slippage or movement is very minimal. And since blocks of wood are sturdy and they also compress and are slip resistant, they are a good idea. If you're uncomfortable with using blocks of wood or doing this procedure yourself, please consult a professional and they can put this car up on a lift. Then you want to make sure that you replaced your body mount bushings. There are 6 body mount bushings. 2 go in the front on the radiator support, 2 in the middle on the firewall, and 2 are underneath at the back of the subframe. GM designed this after many years of research in having full body cars. The first car to implement it was a 67 Camaro. This car, 79 Nova, uses the same design with some modifications for chassis improvement. Once you get the body mounts aligned, as shown earlier, you can move on to the next step. If your car has been sitting for a while, been out in the weather at all, which most have, please make sure that your holes for your bolts have been chased with a appropriate thread chasing tab. There are 1 on the top of the firewall, 1 on the side of the A-pillar, and there are 2 on the bottom. 1 is a clip nut, and the other one is welded into the bottom. Chasing these threads is very important as nobody likes to break off a bolt or have other issues when trying to assemble a car with finished paint. Hey folks, Eddie here. If you might have a tap that doesn't quite fit into the drivers they gave you from whatever manufacturer, another tip is to take a 12-point socket. Since 12 is divisible by 4, this will easily fit inside of it. Obviously you have to make sure it's the right size, and will make your life much easier when tapping bolts. And there you go. Hole ready for assembly. Now some people like to put a little bit of schmutz on there, or maybe a little blue Loctite. Not a bad idea. I prefer just to put them in the way GM did. Pretty much plated bolts into plated holes. This allows you to tighten them down to what you want. But it's your ride, so do it the way you like. Hey guys, we're getting ready to set the radiator support. Next step after we tapped all those holes. That was a kind of a chore, but it was necessary. Going through our hardware, figuring out what we have, what we don't have. Fortunately, we used this system of organizing stuff with bags years ago. A few of the bags broke inside the box, sitting inside of a hot attic for 10 years, but, you know, to be expected. Went through it, sorted it again, and getting all set up here now. Get yourself a cheap table. Stop working on the floor. I've done it for years. Still do it. You know, because I think I'm 20, but I ain't. Get yourself a table, work off the table, wipe off the table. Table gets too dirty, buy another $50 table. Or just keep using it, don't matter. So, get all your bolts gathered up. You're going to need the fender bolts, fender shims, you're going to need radiator support stuff. And I'll see you in the next. Alright, we got ourselves our subframe here and radiator support. Make sure you check your radiator support, your subframe, and make sure that your holes are not completely rotted out. Yes, this radiator support does need a little bit of love, but for right now, we're just getting her put back together so we can move on with the 67 project and have her ready for Ocean City. These are your typical subframe bushings here. You're going to want to make sure that you put them on in the correct order, positions. These are the front ones. The easiest way to tell which one's the front ones is because the 5/8 inch bolt will not fit through it. These front ones here use a 3/8 inch bolt, washer assemblies, lock washers and nuts, And the bushing goes into the radiator support at the bottom. This goes over the top of the radiator support. Bolt goes down through or up through, whichever way you prefer. And then you have your other retaining washer. It goes in the bottom, down here. Lock washer and nut. Alright guys, once you get everything kind of finger tight, snug down there, put a little pressure on it and snug it down. Then you're going to go and get yourself a tape measure. We're going to take some measurements from these top fender bolts right here. Top fender bolts. We're going to do some diagonulation and triangulation. We're going to measure from those top fender bolts over to the other top bolt up here. For reference, Miles and I just did some triangulation measurements here from this side to this side. It's measuring about 64 1/8. And then this side to this side, we're measuring about 64 1/16. Always have someone with you to double check and hold those measurements. I try to measure from the one side for tape measure. And also remember measure from the 1-inch line if you want to be even more accurate. Ideally, a tram gauge is an old school alignment tool they use on frame machines. When I learned years ago at Body Shop, you set that up for different heights, and then you can set it up for different lengths, and you can put it right inside each hole and then flip it to the other side. But most people aren't going to have that. They're going to have a tape measure. Like I say, budget. And then you can also measure your front to rear and see where that's at. In the same hole. Looks like we're sitting at about 41 1/8. And this side is measuring the same too. 41 1/8. Awesome. So next, we need to protect what we have. I don't care if it's an old patinaed out car. I like that look too. But you don't want to add more patina that you need to. Take a little bit of high quality, delicate surfaces, blue tape. Cover up your edge, just enough. Not too much though, because you want to be able to see how thick your gap is going to be. On a side note, I know the gap on this car, since this thing was damaged in its early years and it had poor fit and finish qualities from the factory in the late 70s. There's a large gap on the door edge, and it'll be there again when I'm done. I'm alright with that. Just get her on there. And also, if you're worried about paint peeling back off, you take this tape and you peel off some sections. Okay? Make sure your pants are relatively clean, no metal files and stuff in there. Put it on your pants there and peel her off and get some of that good American denim on there. And that'll help it become a little less sticky, even though it's already made to be not sticky as it is. You just want to put your tape on there and get it wrapped around. So, like I say, you want to see that edge, because that's going to help you do the job that you need to do.